So today we're doing bacon, but we ain't making bacon. I'm gonna take a whole slab of cured pork belly and I'm going to be cooking this like I would pork belly burnt ends. Still confused? Let me explain. I got a nice fresh pork belly. Then I made up a quick brine, which consists of about a half a cup of kosher salt, a half a cup of brown sugar, a little under a teaspoon of Prague powder number 1. Now there is a difference between pink salt number 1 and number 2. You don't really want to mix those two up, and if you want to learn more about this, I highly suggest checking out Two Guys in a Cooler's YouTube channel. He knows everything about curing meats and he has a fantastic video on the differences between number 1 and number 2 curing powder. So if you're interested in that, I highly suggest going and checking him out. Now to finish up the brine, you want to add a few tablespoons of maple syrup, a couple tablespoons of hot honey, and then a few splashes of Worcestershire sauce. Now just mix this up. It's going to be a little thick. Then what I like to do is put it on top of the pork belly, spread it all over as best I can, just on one side. Then I'm gonna take the pork belly, stick it into a vacuum sealed bag, and then coat the rest of the pork belly with that brine. This is just gonna ensure the pork belly is fully covered in the brine. Then I went ahead, vacuum sealed the bag, put the pork belly in my fridge, and I let it go for about 4 to 5 days. So once it was done, I pulled the pork belly out, I rinsed it thoroughly under cold water. Then I put it in a tray full of water to soak for a couple hours to try and draw some of that salt out if we can. And here is the pork belly all finished. Check it out. You can see how red the meat got. That is what the cure will do to this. Now usually for bacon, I'll probably go around 7 days or so, but since I was doing burnt ends, I don't think we needed the full 7 days. This is gonna impart some of those delicious flavors you get with bacon into this pork belly. Now I've never done this before, so we're gonna see if it comes out tender. I don't see why it wouldn't. Either way, I think it's gonna taste good. I'm gonna be doing these burnt ends on my offset smoker, so I've already gone out there and lit it up. Now all that's left to do is get this thing prepped, so let's do that now. All right, so I'm gonna do these burnt ends a little bit different than I usually do. Now with burnt ends, what I usually do is cut these into little squares and cook them that way. Today, I've decided to cut this into long strips, smoke the strips, then about halfway through the cook, I'm going to cut the strips up into little cubes. I've never tried that method, so I want to give that a shot for this bacon burnt ends today. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut a few strips out of here. Now when you're cutting the size for your burnt ends, you want to go a little bit wider and bigger than you think that you're going to want your burnt ends. When I first started cooking burnt ends, I would cut these pretty small, and these shrink up a lot during the cooking process. Definitely cut these bigger than what you think you should, and it'll work out in the end. And there is our nice strips. Now when you're looking for a pork belly, try and find one that has more meat than fat. They're all gonna have their spots where it's mostly just fat, like right here. But sometimes the whole pork belly will just be fat. Be sure to find one that's got plenty of meat on it. And this one is also skinless as well. But doesn't that look nice with that cure? Hopefully these will be good. So we got the strips all cut up. Now let's just make our seasoning. So now the seasoning today is going to be super simple. And remember that pork belly is plenty salty enough, so we don't need any salt. So I'm just going to go in with equal parts black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika. And that is it. Get it mixed up. Now we can start seasoning these strips. Not looking for any crazy flavors. I'm going to be adding a sauce to these later. So I just want some of the basic seasonings on there. Give these a nice base. Like I mentioned earlier, these are already salty enough. Don't worry about it. All right, there we go. All seasoned up. You want to get the whole thing covered, sides and all. Don't worry about putting too much seasoning on there, because again, it's salt free. So this is pretty much just flavor on here. All right, these are all set. The smoker is fired up, so let's get them outside. And the smoker is fully up to temp, so let's get this open and get these pork belly strips right on the smoker. So these are going on the top grate today. And there they are, beautiful pork belly strips, and I'm going fat side up. So let's get them in, get this thing closed up so we can let these smoke. All right, so I think that pork belly is gonna need 3 or 4 hours to get it to where I want. I'm gonna be trying to maintain my smoker around 250 degrees. That's really where I wanna keep it. So I'm looking for these to get a really nice bark on the outside and let some of that fat render down. But if we're looking for a temperature, it's probably gonna be anywhere from 170 to 185 degrees. Let's jump right ahead and check on these pork bellies. All right, so it's been about 4.5 hours. Let's check on this pork belly. Oh yeah, you can see it's getting a beautiful crust on there. That's exactly what we want. Just check that out. That looks beautiful. This is going to be delicious. So these are definitely ready, but let me get a temperature check just so we know. So we are at about 185 degrees. We have the crust we want, so let's get these off. We'll get them cut up and into a tray with some butter, honey, and brown sugar. Let's get these sliced up. Now, I still want to keep them pretty big because they will shrink down some more. All right, there we go, all chopped up. Just take a look at that pork belly. It's got that nice cured color on there. Just needs to be a little more tender. Beautiful crust on there. So let's get these into a tray so we can get them back on the smoker. Now, you just want to throw all those pork belly pieces in here. And I can already tell that this is a lot more firm than a normal pork belly burnt end would be. And it definitely has the smell of bacon. I think this is going to be some delicious stuff here. I mean, just check that out. Does that all look beautiful or what? Just look at that piece of meat right there. Come on. This is going to be so close. I have one more piece to go. Let's see if I can cram it in there somewhere. So you want to go fat side up on here. And now I'm just going to throw in some butter. I got some of this Mike's Hot Honey. This stuff is fantastic. I will put a link below for this if you are interested. Go on with a good amount of that hot honey. Then some brown sugar. Then we just get a cover on there. Back on the smoker this goes. So after 2 hours, this pork belly was finished. I went out there, I checked with my thermometer. They were probing like butter. Plus, when I checked the temperature, they were at around 210 degrees, so I knew they were finished. Now here I have a wire rack. I'm gonna take them out of this tray, put them onto this wire rack, get them back onto my smoker, probably for about 20 minutes, just to let them dry out a little bit and build up kind of a crust. So let's get them out and get them on this rack. These things smell fantastic. I can't wait to give them a try. They're gonna be super interesting, but check out this pork belly. This thing looks amazing. Got the nice crust on there. See that beautiful cured meat color. The fat is rendered down amazingly. Let's go ahead and get this back out on the smoker. So the bacon burnt ends are done. I put them back out on the smoker on that wire rack just to tack up a little bit. That also gave me time to make a delicious glaze for these. And the way I did that was I got a pot over medium heat. I added all the drippings from the tray that the bacon burnt ends were in. To that, I added a good amount of maple syrup. It's hard to tell here, but I added about 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Next, I added a couple tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. This is going to help thicken this glaze up, and I just brought it to a rapid boil. Once it was boiling, I took it off the heat, mixed it up, and this glaze was finished. After I made that glaze, I went out to the smoker. I grabbed these bacon burnt ends. Here we are. I am ready to give these a try. They look fantastic. You can see the beautiful color that these things have, and you can easily tell that the fat is fully rendered. These things are going to be absolutely delicious. So I'm going to cut one of these in half, put a little bit of glaze on there, and we're gonna give it a try. So this one looks pretty good right here. Oh yeah, nice and tender. I don't know if you can see. Check that out. That is super tender. But I got some of this glaze. Gonna get a little brush here. Brush some of this delicious maple glaze all over this. I was thinking bacon when I decided to go with the maple glaze, so we will see how it comes out. Now I just want to test a small sample just in case it's too sweet or something like that, but I have a good feeling about this. So here is the maple glazed bacon burnt end. I'm gonna give this a try. That is so good. So it's salty, but it is not too salty at all. That was my main concern with this cure. But you can taste that bacony, hammy kind of flavor in the back. And I'll tell you what, that maple glaze is fantastic with this. You need something super sweet to go with this heavy pork belly. So what I always like to do is put a link of everything I like to use in my videos down below. So if you guys want to check that out, be sure to go in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. And if you want to see another barbecue video by me, you can check this one out right over here. But most importantly, guys, get out there and smoke something good.